Hello and welcome into the SorareData Game Week 410 preview. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined once again for a midweek preview with our main man, Quinny. Quinny, we were just talking about the weekend and how tomorrow might be pretty exciting for you. And not because it's Game Week 410, but because of 409. So good luck to you on the finish of these two lineups we were discussing that I almost don't want to talk about just to not jinx them.
Yeah, fair enough. No, thanks very much, and I'm absolutely buzzing for it. Thanks for having me back. Fist bumps to yourself and to everyone that's shown us live. I see lots of fist bumps raining in already, which is great. But yeah, it's a big weekend. I was actually out of office all weekend. I had a wee kind of family kind of endeavour away, so the Wi-Fi, the reception, everything I had was terrible. I only got to see a little bit of the Real Sociedad game over the weekend, but it was one of those game weeks where, like, I'm sure everyone goes through this, but sometimes you're just not able to touch anything and you're just having to quickly check a score. Oh, how did that game finish? And, so it was a wee bit of a different experience for me in that sense, and seeing all the scores hit so big, like it was a different experience, but it was some buzz. And I'll take all the avoidance of jinxing in good stead. So cheers, mate.
Do you think that maybe you should not watch any football and you'll have better results?
There's a thought, eh? I'm doing my wife pay you.
I don't think you could do it, to be honest. But that's just my opinion. Why we don't do this to then not watch football. Although I say that as somebody who doesn't watch as much as most people.
Exactly, man. Because and again, we are talking about what we'll probably come on to at some point today. Is the midweek game week, and like coming into this midweek with the teams that are running and the games that are on. There might be some rotation stuff, and again, like the extra detail you get from watching games, you get a real taste of, oh no, that guy was fine. He'll be playing next week, or those other kind of things that roll around. Guys that were really good off the bench, maybe, or again, another thing just to kind of throw out there is like yellow cards are always a funny one you miss from weekends to midweek. Sometimes you get a wee sneaky one pop in there, and it's like, oh crap, I missed that.
Well, also because even if it could happen. Let's say on Sunday, you're looking for your lineups for midweek. And if they play late Sunday or they play Monday and they pick up the yellow, then you just don't even think to look because you're like, oh yeah, the guy was fine the other day. I'm sure he's fine now. We saw so last week we previewed all the European competition that was happening. We did see some rotation there from some teams. And then it felt like there was a ton of rotation with everyone this weekend, excuse me. It felt like every conversation I was in, someone who was like, man, I had this really great lineup and then this guy didn't play or this guy didn't start or, he came off the bench and didn't do anything. And this midweek doesn't really make it much easier because we also have matches at the weekend. And so we do have some really, really lopsided matchups in Challenger Europe this week. But we might have some rotation. So I'm going to pull up. This is the matchups tab for game week 410. Like I was saying, the three of the top four biggest favorites are from the Eredivisie. Ajax, PSV, and AZ are the three from the Eredivisie, and then Real Madrid, also huge favorites. Real Madrid, we know deep enough to rotate if they wanted to. I think, do I remember correctly, Tchouaméni did not start this past weekend?
I couldn't tell you. I would need to double check on that one.
That's right. You were just saying you were out.
In the AF game.
I think. Yeah. Okay. So Kroos played and Modric this weekend. So surely Tchouaméni comes back in and we'll see. I mean, Camavinga only went 57. So I expect that he would start as well. But man, they are, who would they play? Oh, Las Palmas. Like that could get ugly real quick.
Yeah, losing a derby, they really need to bounce back. Griezmann's out there. I don't know if you've been on social media today, but Griezmann's out there after the game saying school kids tomorrow should go to school wearing their Atletico shirts and be proud and all that. It's a great result and they're really trying to rub it in. So Real Madrid need to bounce back in a big way, big time. So yeah, it might not be fun if you're on the receiving end of that. I don't suppose many people will be stacking Cadiz this week. But unless Palma has a bigger pardon. But so I think that could be a big one. I think Camavinga, those guys that get that 60-minute sub, they're normally the ones that are on to start most games. And maybe like I seen Valverde there picking up 90 and Kroos even getting to 70. I think those would be my kind of contenders on face value for rotation there anyway.
Yeah, I think it's certainly possible there. What do we see? Modric only went 45, but I'm not even sure that's a Modric thing or that's more of a Modric thing than a rotation thing, if that makes any sense. I'm not sure he's going to play a ton anyway. But anyway, that's all the good stuff that we want to get to. We obviously need to slog our way through the other divisions first, so let's not jump all the way to Champion Europe first.
Sure.
Quinny, we've got some second division this midweek. Oh, do you have something?
I was going to say, last week we had the West Ham chat, right? Where we were talking about West Ham going out and spanking the team and such, right? And there was one thing I just wanted to say while I remembered. I should have looked a bit more thoroughly at the West Ham team that played in the last match, because they did make rotations, right? But the kind of sentiment of what I was saying still stood. They played their best team. They played Ward-Prowse, they played Paqueta, they played the team to go out there and spank them. So I want to put on record my apology for not doing the kind of homework behind it, if you get me. So I'm sorry for anyone that maybe put a card out there in vain. I'm really sorry, but yeah.
So one of the first pieces of feedback I got was from our good friend Andy Black, and he was like, "Hey, I really enjoyed the show. Quinny's completely wrong about West Ham, and he has a West Ham stack, and so and he's got like so many pieces that he knows if they can rotate, he can still put out a good team. So I set you up for that one, I have to admit. So I apologize for that.
That's okay.
You're right. Ward-Prowse still played, and Paqueta still played, but yeah, I think what it does at least is gives us a pretty good indication of what's going to happen next week when they have another European fixture. So West Ham definitely deeper than I think a lot of people give them credit for, particularly when they're in a competition, in a midweek European competition. But anyway, we've got Liga and Serie B this week. Nothing looks exciting except the fact that Auxerre is the top favorite. And as you can see, I have a ton of cards from them. So let's go. But yeah, nothing literally too exciting here. They're the only two teams, them and Bastia, are the only ones who are more than a 50% favorite. So I believe it was SR Monkey who gave me a hard time for saying nobody was going to win anything with second division players last midweek. And then he finished, I don't think he was a top 10 in cap 270, and also won. Oh, here he is, as he's congratulating you. But I believe he also won second division Europe. So I will say you can win second division Europe with second division Europe cards. I'll give you that one. And it looks like SR Monkey and I are going to go head to head this week for second division, hopefully. But yeah, I don't even know what to say here. Like, it's one of those that second division, whenever there's a second division midweek, we just never assume rotation because they're just so used to it. And just like in the English Championship, we're just like, nope, you signed up to play 100 games this year and you're going to play 100 games this year. Yep.
All the way through the holidays, all the way through the World Cup. Doesn't matter. You're playing. Like, you get.
Lace up the boots and get out there. So, yeah. But again, this makes me think that the second division scores may not be overly high. They seem like they're fine in cap modes. I don't think a full second division team is going to be that competitive in All-Star. And I still would probably stay away from 270, even though SR Monkey proved me wrong last week. It just seems like the other divisions have matchups that people will certainly throw in All-Star, which is the last week of the month-long competition. And so anyone who has I think everyone is playing their best teams who are competitive in the month-long in All-Star this week. And I hate to say that a lot of the teams that are big favorites this week have players that a lot of people who have done well in All-Star have. And so they could, like, this game week could be one of their top 4 scores just based off of the matchups. But again, we'll get to that. Yeah. We'll get to that. I keep giving it away.
No, that's cool. I was having a wee quick glance over Ligue 2 and Serie B, and then just having a wee look at the actual matchups we've got here. And there's not, for like the forward scores we've got, and a lot of these are really good, and it's mainly because there's a lot of bad defenses in these leagues, or these games, certainly. But there's not that many, like, in terms of the top rated match there, Auxerre, the team they're playing is like 10th, and they've scored more than they've conceded, for example, this season. They're not a bad outfit. And then there's a few other ones around where they're not that far apart. with only 7 games in the season, with all that kind of context against it. So I'm not sure there is any stacks in there, but I think what these D2 teams are really showing is there is proper, like, isolated pieces, like a Beste or Wanizek and, the goalkeeper from that, there's like isolated, I think, really strong pieces that when you get a game like whatever this is, forward rating of 23 or 18, even for Bastia there playing Pau, then are expected to score 61. If you've got a striker that plays for them and is their top goal scorer, then that fixture is going to rein in for the striker at least. But who knows how the rest of them, maybe they will be great as well. But at a glance, because that's all I'm doing with these divisions, but there's not that many like top V bottoms that really jump out on that page that we had a moment ago. Gerterheim. Yeah. There he is. He's a man in that team for sure.
He got banged up in one recent match, and then Gaetan Perrin here got his role on set pieces, and I think he's on back-to-back 90s. I'll take a third one this midweek, just saying. If anybody can get word to him, that would be really, really appreciated. We've got Asia this midweek as well. I think it's just Chinese Super League and the J League, so no K League this midweek. Okay. Nothing overly, I guess, Urawa at home against Yokohama FC. So our good friend Harry Trades will be very excited with his Urawa stack.
It looks like a double game week for Urawa, and it looks like it's teams that have been playing in Champions League or something, maybe, because it's only like Urawa, Kawasaki, Yokohama, Vissel, these kind of teams there, isn't it? It's not the full division.
It's not full, no. Yeah.
So
I don't think it's
double game week for Urawa. Yeah, they've got Yokohama. Oh no, they've not. Sorry, I'm just an idiot. That's all. Ignore me. It's just because I seen them again down somewhere else, and I was like reading it twice like a tube.
So I will say, at least for Urawa, they play this midweek and next midweek. Like, they don't have a weekend matchup. And then it looks like that's a nice little break, or that's the international break there. So you're not going to use these guys this week and you don't have to worry about weekend match kind of messing around with rotations and whatnot. Although we have seen some Asia Champions League rotations that get really annoying. And so we can worry about that next week instead of this midweek.
That's it.
Do you have any players in China?
No, I don't have any. No, I've still got Osaka. I don't have any Asian players outside of that anymore. Sadly, maybe one day we'll see. You're not, but that's nice of you to say. Major League Soccer has a few matches this week. Liga MX, Brazil. We've got, looks like the 3 Peruvian clubs that are listed here, we don't have odds for yet, which means our good friend, Luis Urruti. That's not your good friend. That's my good friend that I never play. Oh, looks like he's playing well. But I mean, this Universitario is like a licensed club, so there are plenty of cards that are available. But they are, let's see here, away to Cesar Vallejo. I don't know who that is. I don't know anything about that. Can you go back a screen there to that one you were on? Yeah. See the goalkeeper. I don't know if it's the resolution, just because I'm obviously like on the stream with you, if that makes sense. But see the goalkeeper. It looks like Luis Barraza's like evil twin or something. Like he's he's got a wee bit of blonde in his hair. His name's a wee bit different, and he's out for revenge for something.
Is that a new goalie? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I was going to say, I thought they had Carvalho. I don't know what that situation is. If anybody has these guys, obviously that's something to look for. I wouldn't mind Luis Barraza to get a transfer there so he can go back to actually playing matches as opposed to sitting on the bench behind Matt Freese. But anyway, SR Monkey, this is right. We got 52 people. Please like and subscribe.
All that good stuff.
As Quinny likes to say, wear your manners. Showing up and not even liking the video.
Exactly. Anyway. Get comfy. Hit the like button. Chill out. That's it. Get comfy.
All right. We've got, I know LDU Kyoto, what are they? 57% to win, playing some team that looks like we just don't have enough data for, because that just looks like way too many points to give up to every position. But
yeah, that's probably a high skill or something they're playing.
Surely, Nepenthes with his Kyoto stack, full collection, will be excited about that. I'm particularly excited about Atlas playing at home against Puebla, but then we also have Philadelphia home against Dallas off of a short break after the the weekend matches. And yeah, and then we have Libertadores and Sudamericana. River Plate? No River Plate.
No, I don't see them. Only Boca seen. Did I see Boca? I'm sure I see Boca.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, River Plate's out. I forgot about that.
So yeah, it's funny because this midweek, all these little, like the Asian cards we just looked at, these America ones, like I say, like when you're a smaller gallery, especially, no matter if it's rares or limited, it's normally little isolated guys like this you can kind of pick up to kind of bolster your numbers. And they're maybe the ones where, like, a lot of people talk about it on a lot of channels, but like buying guys from for deadlines and stuff like that, or getting a guy to fill in a team or whatever. And sometimes when they're from these kind of weird and wacky places, like there could be some really fun teams put together with like you were looking at Atlas there, like that the goalkeeper defensive predicted score there, that's really, really strong, and Mexico is a really good region for people that do like good points per pound on players. So it's always kind of interesting to see how these games pan out, but it's always hard for me to really gauge how good the fixture is. But those scores there really do show that the defense for some of these teams, especially, I see a lot of good goalkeepers there.
It's funny you bring that up because I was speaking with someone the other day that I have this weird situation. It's 3 parts. One, because I'm American, everyone thinks I'm an MLS expert, which I'm not. 2 is I generally have better results in the summer, which makes it sound like it's because, well, the European cards, are obviously not in play normally. And so I'm like, oh, all of my America cards are good. But also I don't have that many great MLS cards. And I actually have like Liga MX, Argentina. Like I end up, my better cards in the region are non-MLS America cards. So I had like my River Plate stack. I have Atlas, like I have Hulk. And so as much as I love the America division, MLS, I don't know what I'm doing with MLS enough where like I have Carlos Heel and it's because I want him. I don't think I ever would have bought that card. And I think I bought Reynoso because I didn't have Carlos Heel. And I was like, oh, I'm sure he's just as good. I
definitely do feel with MLS, it's very easy to get that kind of, I don't know, like you can very easily just kind of lose interest in it quite easily. And then when it gets to like nowish, you can just kind of pay attention again when it gets closer to playoff time, if you know what I mean, because it's really, there is like 10 games in the middle where the results are crazy. Nobody's winning consistently. Everyone's losing, it feels like. And, everyone's season's going down the pan. And then it's kind of like nowish is when people start to sort their stuff out. So I totally get that with MLS. It's a very easy division, no matter how close you get to it with cards, to like really tap into in that way as well. But yeah, I get a similar thing as well with Scotland. Like I get a lot of people asking me about Motherwell goalkeepers and stuff like that. It's like, mate, I've not got a clue. Ask me about the Celtic keeper, maybe Aberdeen or Rangers, but that push, but no chance.
Yeah, I understand why people feel that way for both of us, but also
I get it.
Yeah, the tricky thing about MLS is because the goal every year of the league is for there to be enough parity where one team is not running away with it or 3 teams are not running away with it. And so you get in a situation where anything can happen. And that's really hard for Sorare because that's not what you want. You don't want anything can happen. I know my guy is going to crush because they're playing the 15th team and they're in first, but every year everything is different. And particularly this time of year, it's been a long season. Now they have a short turnaround and they're going to be like, I know with Philadelphia, Jacob Glesnes was rested this past weekend. I think he had started like 105 straight matches. Like it was an incredible run. And then he just decides to get rested this weekend. Presumably he will play against Dallas this midweek. But one of those things where you can do all the research you want and you're like, this guy never sits. And as soon as he sits, people are like, well, it was bound to happen. But it's like, you don't want to hear that when you've played him.
Andy Farrell was that guy when MLS first came on. He had some record of like, he played 450 games in a row or something mental, And then after a bunch of people got his cards, he got injured for a bit. And obviously he's been a normal player in terms of that. But yeah,
right.
It happens to everyone. Not everyone plays every game. So yeah, it's one of those ones where it'll catch you at some point for sure.
Yeah, so in just MLS games, his last DNP was game week 224. And a reminder, we are previewing game week 410 right now. So
that's incredible.
Yeah. But I expect him to come back in. And I would also expect some random people to say that he's not starting this midweek because they see the DNP. But I'll add my expectation that he'll be back. Unless there's injury news and I missed it, but I don't think there was. Let's go to Challenger. This is where we saw our big favorites. We also have Braga. What did you call them? Against a gray badge or something like that. I forget what you call it.
Gray badge. Yeah. A gray badge or a no name.
So we've got Braga against, what is that? Estrella Amadora. I don't know who they are. Let's find out. Let's at least see.
I like Braga. They've got a good squad. They've got some cards, but they're also not licensed. But they're one of these teams that are just like famously good at home, even though it's like, it's kind of prominent in a lot of places, but like they are like a home team, got a cool stadium next to a mountain and stuff like that. And you need to get there by a bus. And I think it just messes with people and all that, it's a wee place and whatever.
I will add that, and I think people kind of just look at Portugal and they say, all right, it's Porto, Benfica, Sporting. And it's easy for us to think that because those are the three licensed teams that we have. Braga finished ahead of Sporting last year. Like they're not a nothing club. I don't think that there are many cards though on the platform. I guess we have
a few.
Pizzi. Oh, I didn't know John Moutinho was there. Pizzi is a former Sorare legend.
Yeah.
Pizzi predated me, but I'm sure that he was good when this time was definitely Quinny time, not mine.
Yeah. I never had a Pizzi myself, but I think I probably had Darwin back then. So probably I was enjoying some assists or something off him. He was good. Right.
But yeah, so for the 17 people who have a Pizzi card, it's 192. I take that back. There were a lot when he was at Benfica, I guess. But Ajax, PSV, AZ, and Twente, all huge favorites. We also have Fenerbahce at home. So all of them are big favorites at home. Ajax with a new manager, they've been an absolute dumpster fire this year, but have not waited to make a change. I mean, it's end of September now, and they've made a change at least. How do you feel with like the new manager bump in the midweek against, is that Volendam? Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you see the fact, like the memes that were going around for anyone that missed it, is Ajax rage quitted the Klassiker at the weekend. So Feyenoord went 3-0 up, and then the fans just started like throwing flares and having riots and stuff like that. Game abandoned, and yeah, it's been a bit of a carnage over in Amsterdam as far as I gather. Since. Yeah. So in one way, shape, or form, like that team needs to like bounce back in a big way at home as well. The fans will probably be quite hostile at kickoff. So that, it's an easy game on paper, but it really depends on the men on the pitch, how they react to that. So it's a bit of a different situation to normal, I suppose. You would expect them, Ajax v Volendam, it's probably an easy situation to step up in and crush the opposition. So it's probably going to be a good one. Don't get me wrong, 83% chance of win is that. Free goal probability, 50 or 67%. I can't remember what order the columns are in, sorry. But
67% for 3 goals scored.
Yeah, so that's going to be mega.
Haji's brought this up. Any idea if that's going to be behind closed doors?
Oh, could be, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, of course. That makes sense.
I mean, not that obviously it affects the players, but it's not. I don't think it's something that you're like, I'm not going to play my guys now because they're behind closed doors. So we'll keep that. PSV at home against Go Ahead Eagles, who themselves, didn't they have a huge win this past game week? Yeah,
they've got some players. They've got some good players for sure. We gave away that Romans on the deadline stream thanks to Monkey. Unlimited to him. He's been killing it. If you look at that Romans, he's got some good scores. And so they've got some players for sure. But it's funny with Holland because they score so well because they're so technically good. They're good at receiving the ball. They don't lose possession. They're good at progressing, passing, depending on the position of the pitch we're talking about. So sometimes you think, Go Ahead could do all right, but they won't. They won't, like PSV should smash them. Don't get me wrong, they'll maybe score a goal or two or something, but they're not going to win or draw,
Right. Yeah.
Most of the time.
We've got AZ at home against Heracles, and then Twente's home against Vitesse, and then Fenerbahce, what is that? Istanbul. I'm gonna mess that one up.
Basta Shakir. Yeah, that's my guess at it.
Huh? That's how we're trying. Alex Wilson responding about Noppert last week. So I think on the preview show we were talking about, or for the weekend. Let me just bring up Noppert quickly. We were like, he should bounce back this week because they played Excelsior at home, which they then promptly went out and lost 3-0. And he had 9.5 points for his third bright red score in his last 4 starts for Herenveen.
Wow. He is falling, isn't he, man?
That's really bad. Like, that's really bad. Who do they have
for sure?
week? Do they not play? Maybe they don't. Oh, maybe it's not. Is it not a full?
Again, I think a lot of these teams are European teams, ones that play Europas and stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, even Galatasaray, really strong game, but they're away. There's so many good home fixtures we've looked at so far, like that are plum. But Galatasaray, again, there was a bit of a rotation pattern midweek, so it'll probably be quite easy to pick the Galatasaray team for the midweek coming up. So that might play a part in it as well. So I don't think they were good at the weekend. Yeah, they won 2-1, but I've definitely seen some things people weren't too chuffed with. I guess there's a few bad scores there, so if you did stack them, it's quite easy to not go over the line by that team this week.
Yep. And yeah, Fenner, I feel like somebody brought it up in chat. Where was it? Yeah, free Tadic. So do you have a Tadic?
No, never.
Never. Wow.
Never have I Tadiced.
So there's been a long conversation of whether he's been good this year. And obviously he started off like fairly well, but the decisives have all but dried up. The AA has all but dried up. And I believe maybe it was this Twente match. I think he needed a 93rd minute penalty to get himself up to 75. But he's been absolutely brutal since. And it's a weird one because like he's going to continue to start, but I don't think that's the Tadic that everyone thought that they were getting when they saw these first scores, and they were like, he's going to be fantastic at Fenerbahce. Like Ajax scores will be the same, and they're coming down. Like it's not like the extra matches are different. Like he had them at Ajax, meaning like the extra European matches, and so it's I don't know. This is a puzzling one for me because it doesn't feel like much has changed in the last 5 games, but it has.
I think you're just basically seeing that kind of, like, it is different being Fenerbahce than it is Ajax, so like there might be little spells of those ambers that do come around being at Fenerbahce for different circumstantial reasons. It is a hotter country, it is more traveling domestically. It's a bigger country to navigate, as well. And whatever else happens, also as a year older, time goes on in that sense as well. But when I first seen that graph, the first thing that I think sometimes when guys move down a level, no matter what their age, is like, and I really hate bringing this guy up because I don't want to, but I think of it as Mesut Ozil syndrome, right? So if you remember, like when Mesut Ozil was good at Arsenal, or any good moments about Mesut Ozil at Arsenal, most of them weren't that far removed from when he was a Real Madrid player. It was like his first 2 seasons at Arsenal or so. And I think for a lot of guys, when they are performing at like the top of their game, when they do take that step down, it can be a gradual slope, because they're just not training, operating so many things at the same level. And if they're like Ozil going to Arsenal was the big signing from Arsene Wenger to get Arsenal back on top, and we're signing a Galactico and we're really going to push it. And maybe he was capable of that for a year or two. Anyway, him aside, but those guys, some of them are capable of being the main guy and lifting the team up, and some of them maybe are or not. Anyway, the main point with Tadic is that basically it would be age. It would probably, and these are things I just mentioned there. So it's maybe part of that, but because of the way he does attack and the way he does play, I certainly see his scores keeping up for certainly the remainder of this season while he's fit. But it is one of those things when guys do climb down. SO5, I think, is quite immune from this thing I'm talking about. It's more real world impact because SO5, he's still going to be taking free kicks. He's still going to be putting balls in the box. Fenerbahce are still going to beat 75% of the league, so SO5 scores are still probably going to be mainly fine. This is more a kind of real world thing I'm sliding into, so I'll stop there. But that was the first thing I seen when I seen those scores, that kind of tail off there. It's like, oh, it's a wee bit of the Ajax Champions League team level magic maybe coming off him domestically.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Siri has said Tadic still does amazingly on the pitch. He does not take any set pieces. I guess maybe he's lost them in the last few games because our stats say he does have a few. He said also they double cover him and he gives so much space to Fred and Szymanski. So like creating space, not on the matrix, unfortunately. And so but it's one of those things that you have to consider, that if his role is essentially to attract defenders, that's not great from an SO5 perspective. And so it could be really important for the team, but not necessarily for our lineups. But also his years at Ajax were so much better than the rest of the league for most of his time there, at least. And while Fenerbahce are definitely up there, I don't think that the difference in quality overall is as great. And so, like you said, he's getting older. The competition itself from 11v11 is a little tougher than it was at Ajax. And yeah, I guess
that Ajax team as well was semi-generational for them, because even if they put Tadic, I think, back into Ajax right now, that L10 probably isn't much different, really, the way Ajax have been going recently. So he was also a part of a very, very good team. Like you say, it's that, quality of them versus the field. It was quite distinct then as well, so that's definitely something to take into consideration.
Looking else, we've got Bruges Genk. That could probably like the most...
Yeah, that's not a good game.
Exciting
for
real match. We play, but from an SO5 perspective, nobody... Well, if you told me
game for Vanaken
every game.
It's a good game for Vanaken, you think? It's a good game for a captain, or a good game for a talisman striker or something. But yeah, not defenders, more likely to get booked and goals conceded and stuff. But
I was going to say, Genk, relying on a Genk clean sheet is never fun for anybody.
No.
But on the flip side, I don't know if you can really expect one from Bruges. Like, Genk like to score. And I still am baffled that Mignolet continues to start, but meaning that they can, every season they just roll him out. But like, De Kuiper's been able to score really well, even when they concede, and they have, I mean, they nobody would be surprised if this match was 3-3 also. And Genk just continue to score and concede as well.
An equal measure for the rest of the time.
Alex Wilson said Genk are terrible, though. Yeah, it's difficult when you basically have to outscore everyone, and they can score, but sometimes if they can't score enough, then the results just don't go. But because of what we see higher up the list here, Antwerp against Ghent, that's actually a decent matchup, and one that I don't think either side really gets. If you have players in that game, you're not getting excited to play them. Besiktas against Adana Demirspor. That's another one that, like, the match should be close. I mean, the odds say it should be close anyway, but your Jedson and other Besiktas players. I'm going blank because I don't have any.
Abubakar, Hadzimetovic, Tosin.
It's so funny to see guys like Eric Bailly and Oxlade-Chamberlain there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't think you're getting particularly excited about these guys for the midweek. At least when you look and you're like, oh, if I play them in Challenger, you just have to hope that everyone with Ajax, PSV, AZ are playing an All-Star, which I think a lot of people are, but I don't know. Those are just not matchups you really want to go after.
There will be a lot of challenger bias on these cards as well, but, because it is going to be a real divide and conquer element from those Dutch cards this week. It's like, right, where's my best shot? And if it's maybe like, your AZ 20 Fenerbahce guys, they're probably all going to be in challenger, hoping that the Ajax, the PSVs of maybe even USG as well, if you fancy them away to Molenbeek. The stats there suggest that it's pretty tidy. Maybe they're a wee bit more all-starry, Galatasaray perhaps, I don't know. But yeah, so I think both those divisions will be brutal this week for a midweek for sure. Yeah,
I think the simple thing is that if you have players from these teams, if you are in a good position in the monthly All-Star, then you probably play them there. But if you're not, you're probably better off playing them in Challenger so that you can, or even a cap mode, so that you can, because I feel like there'll be almost differentials in that regard. Because like if you have Joey Veerman, you're not going to want to play him in Challenger this week if you have 400 scores already for All-Star in the monthly and you need another one. Like nobody should really play Veerman in Challenger this week.
No, I don't think that'll happen.
Let's jump over to champion. Excuse me. We mentioned Real Madrid were big favorites. Inter Milan, also a big one against Sassuolo.
Nice.
Napoli against Udinese. And Barcelona away to Mallorca, who got pasted by Girona this past weekend, and which I believe Chani called on the show on Thursday. That ended up being even, was it 5-1, 6-1?
It was a great game.
5-3. Excuse me, I forgot they came back. But it's funny to see a team like this. Like if you saw these scores, you would just be like, oh yeah. Well, like if you just saw the starters, here you go. You would think that they lost like 8-1, but it was actually 3 because they have these 2 goals off the bench. But yeah, Girona they came to play. That's all.
Right, big time. Mallorca always better at home but than away. I think Barca. I was saying this to somebody earlier. I forget who it was, but Barca now are really starting to click in. Like if you like the way that team is finally starting to take some shape. Like Felix, of course, you'll be drilling at that, Laird. But they're really clicking in a big Barca way. You know what I mean? Where they could go. There may be one wee bit of form away where they could just go all conquering again and just kill everyone with 1,000 passes, score 4 or 5 goals a game again, and just be like what most people think of them as historically. They're not far off it.
And what's nice is they're doing it. It's like really high scoring, like 13 goals in the last 3. Yeah, obviously you see here have won 6 in a row, unbeaten this season. And yeah, I think the only thing to consider, which is pretty much the case with all of their matches, is who rotates. I think, to be honest, João Felix is playing more than I expected. Like, I think he's started, so he started 3 straight. There were the 2 La Liga matches and then the Champions League match in between. Do you think they rotate this week now?
Can I tell you a little slice of translated info I've got?
Ooh, always.
Xavi is on record as saying there will be an average of 3 rotations per match this season.
So do you think that's one where he does 9 and then none for 3 straight? Or
I think he tries to do 3 a game. I think that's what he tries for, So, for example, Ferran Torres started this game. He's going to be one of the main rotation pains in the ass all year, which is great for me. But I think it will be like Rafinha or Lamal that will come in. There'll be one in the midfield. And then it's really hard to imagine the defence rotating because they're getting a bit of a vein there. So maybe it's an average of 3 in the sense that maybe they change 2 and then maybe they'll change 4. I don't know. But that's from the mouth of Xavi. There will be an average of 3 rotations per game this season is the goal or the plan from Barca and inside. What's
Pedri's time frame?
No idea, to be honest. You're better asking Harry. I leave all Pedri until to Harry. I don't keep up any RAM in my mind for that.
That's fair. I don't have one, so I don't have any reason. Yeah, Brad's saying Balde has already been rotated a lot lately.
Yeah.
Which, they're incredibly deep at every position. You just assume that like Lewandowski probably plays most games. Lewandowski and Ter Stegen, and after that, no one feels safe to me. Maybe Koundé. But even that, I'm not sure. Like he could. Has he played every? No, he's actually played every one, which then makes me think, he could rest. Yeah, he's literally played every single one this season.
Away to Mallorca is it is a game where if you're going to do 3 rotations or something, because again, it's going to be a hard away game anyway. It's a little bit of a different match as well. Mallorca, just the way they play tactically as well. So yeah, maybe somebody, I don't know, man. The defense has been so good. I don't think you mess with that as a coach generally. If you can avoid it, the Barca team that Xavi played in, that 11 played every week. They did not mess about. They had some subs and whatever, of course, but the best team played all the time. That was what was expected of them. So.
Yeah, it makes sense for sure. The SorareData lineup projections, which I assume will change between now and the deadline, which is in 24 hours and 19 minutes.
That's 3 rotations from the weekend, so that's probably quite close to spot on. I could see Xavi coming in for De Jong, Balde for Alonso, Rafinha for Torres.
Yeah, that's your 3 right there.
Could be the case, yeah.
Let's just keep this guy at 100% as long as possible.
Let's keep him up there.
Yeah.
Well, he's got years in his legs. He's been chilling the F out, man. He should be playing twice a week, no problem, man.
Yeah. He could play 4 times a week for how little he's played over the last few years. So, yeah, I'm with you. Hopefully Xavi agrees with us. We also have Juve against Lecce, Milan traveling to Cagliari, and then Sevilla. Who is this? Almeria. Oh, yeah, that's where I have my Maximiano. I don't know. I don't expect many fireworks here. Like, I feel like at the end of the game week, we go to Champion Europe and we're like, oh, yeah, Real Madrid stack 1. Shocking. Yeah. Simple as that.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else here. Napoli are like my goalkeeper got a clean sheet against Napoli at the weekend, which was of great joy to me. But they can't, me and I think anyone that knows Rudy Garcia, when he got appointed Napoli manager, everyone said the same thing, that this is just going to be bad. Like, it's not going to go well at all, and it's went that way. If he's still the manager when they play this game, then they need to win it, like 100% for me. Like, I think that's how bad Napoli are at the moment. Like, I don't know if you've seen Osimhen's reaction when he got subbed off, but he was spitting feathers, like he was fuming, So if the way that as well the president protected Osimhen in the transfer market and the way he values him, that manager is like cannon fodder. So if Osimhen's not game, I can see him getting jettisoned. But if he's still in the seat for this game, I agree. I think Real Madrid are probably easily head and shoulders above everyone. But if we got Napoli from last season to show up for a minute, it could be at home to Udinese,
Sometimes you just need a midweek against Udinese to get yourself back on track.
Yeah.
Are there any lower matchups that you think can kind of pop off? Like Girona, unfortunately, having to follow up this weekend smashing to travel to play Villarreal, which I never get overly excited about Villarreal or Girona, but I feel like I'm being proven wrong every so often. Like, any chance that one goes nuts?
It could do for the attacking cards, if you know what I mean. Like, both haven't been great this season for different reasons. Don't get me wrong, Girona, of course, are second in the league, have been doing very great, but they don't get many clean sheets, And Villarreal at home, as we know, Danny Parejo and a few others are, they're good players and they'll be effective. But yeah, there's very, very few and far between a clean sheet for Girona. So I think that'll be not good for defending cards and goalkeepers. But if you've got Danny Parejo's, Alex Garcia's, Saganikov's, Jerry Moreno's, then it could be a decent game. But I think Bologna against Monza is one that I like. Bologna are very, very under the radar, like real world football wise. I think they finished like 6th or 7th in the league last season. Didn't get Europe, or they must have just finished out of Europe, maybe 9th or something. And they've sold a lot of guys in the summer. There's been a lot of kind of transfer upheaval. Obviously, they brought in Jesper Karlsson as well, to a lot of Sorare managers' dismay. But, they get some tidy results. A draw there, like you see, to Juventus. Milan beat them 2-0, but if you look at that game, I think Milan scored those goals really early, and I don't think, So anyway, they've not been really like battering teams. Yeah, they scored Rapid, and then that was it. So they've not been, they've had a really tough run of fixtures overall.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that bad, really, in the grand scheme of things. And once they start going, like Monza are a decent outfit, but they've not got as many good players this season to last. Since Berlusconi passed away, there's been a wee bit of a difference of, let's say, capital invested in that team now. So, like, that could be a game where they start their season off, they score a couple of goals. Like you see now, they score 3 against Lecce at the beginning, towards the beginning of the season, or was that the back end of last, actually? Yeah. So actually, this season they've not got off yet at all. They've not started at all, but they've not been doing that bad considering the opposition they've had, So
I was going to say, Milan, Juve, and Napoli in your first 5 is not a friendly way to start the season.
Yeah, so that could be a good one. It's a wee bit underrated on the stats, in that sense.
I feel like every so often I look at Monza. There's like some player, and I'm like, where is he now? I'm like, oh, he's at Monza. Maybe I need a Monza stack. And I'm like, no, I don't need this. This is not what I need.
Yeah, not this season. They had some good guys last year, like Ravella and a few other ones that were quite fun. But this year they've not got that same kind of level of quality for the team. I do like Betis against Granada as well. Sam Tai won't be pleased to hear. But that's just because I'm more like I'm kind of. I think Betis have had some tricky games recently. Rangers, they didn't do that great in that match, it must be said. and they need to, away at Granada, they kind of need to get going. Yeah, they drew at the weekend as well. So that could be a game where they really need a result. And Pellegrini team's attack, Granada's defence, I don't know the Granada result with the weekend off the top of my head, but I thought that's a wee sneaky one where if you do have some of the attacking players, maybe you get a big score out of them.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, Champion Europe feels quite Real Madrid-centric, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing at the bottom here that makes me think anyone but the top will dominate, though. So, as we mentioned, so Ajax, PSV, Real Madrid, and AZ are the top 4 in terms of All-Star. And so I feel like we end up, did I have our pick scores up? Here we go, pick scores.
Oof.
So, I mean, I think this is for All-Star Limited, the pick scores for the midweek. Is that? Yeah, it is the midweek. I think we just have to get used to the fact that Luke de Jong is going to be near the top every single week. PSV usually favored, and I think he only had one decisive this weekend. He had a really bad game, and it was only 65, which from his standards from this season, I think is pretty weak. But man,
Gold.
Ryan Gold wasn't home. Can't play him.
I put Gold in my 240 at the weekend, thinking we might because the game of the weekend where we're the Salt Lake. This midweek they're playing. They're away to Rapids.
Yeah,
which is a dodgy away game as well. So I thought, maybe these will be the wee. This is maybe where the away game thing comes to pass. But no, I dropped a 70 and 240 for me. So Gold supreme.
So I got a great message from Gator Guy before the game week 408 match against Houston. And he said it's gotten to the point. Now, he and I are both on record as being the guys who say we sold Gold before his run of away matches. And he followed that up with 90, 75, 69, 100. And we're going into game week 408. He's like, I don't even care about my lineups anymore. The biggest sweat I have all game week is whether Ryan Gold gets a decisive or not. And he didn't get one. And we were like, we're finally right. And then he follows it up with an assist at Real Salt Lake. I can't even justify, throwing my pen in disgust. I remember part of the discussion was that his AA wasn't going to be that great in these away games. And then the first one, he had 10, and we're like, that's not so great. It's fine. But like for him, it wasn't that great. Then he had 14 and a half, and we're like, oh, maybe we're wrong about this. And then he had 8, and we're like, okay, here it comes. And then 45 AA against Toronto. And we're just like, all right, we just have absolutely no idea what we
well, that was a derby as well. That's a little bit different as well. Like, the theory or the madness in the theory, I think it washes out, like you can stand by that. Like, there's good decision making. And I've done that stuff as well, man. Like sometimes I'm not saying you guys in this exact situation, but I'm thinking about when I've done this kind of thing, I say to myself, you're just trying to be too smart. You're thinking that everyone else is thinking at this kind of same level in terms of the market and pricing and stuff like that, but they're not. Most people are not thinking on that level. A lot of people are, but not everyone. If you know what I mean, sometimes you can talk yourself into stuff that's, stuff like that. So I definitely feel you on that one. And I think, I would stand by it still, man. Let's say big AA in the derby. He's been great to play, obviously. I'm trying to make you feel better. I hope it's working, but yeah, it's true.
I still can't decide if we overthought it or underthought it, but whatever it was, we were dead wrong. Haji's Light here says that you nicked them on a gold auction a few months back. Still haven't forgiven you for that. Denied him the Scottish Messi.
If it's the rare gold, that's the one I've still got, and it's a jersey mint. So you're only going to beat me on that one. Yeah. So I've got a wee cheeky gold. It just walks about with a wee 1% bonus on them. Don't need any other Vancouver cards. I'm okay. Just a wee gold solo will be enough for me.
I will say that, and I feel like this is something you would have never done. Let me see if I can pull 383. This has nothing to do with the game week preview, but I'm going to pull it up anyway.
Sounds so fun.
So I had a good result in Cap 240 Rare a while ago,
nice.
Thanks to a Ryan Gold 100. And this got me the Bruno Fernandes Rare. And I feel like if this happened to you, you would never sell this card. And that I ended up selling this card.
Oh, well,
in fact, such disrespect. I sent it to Pavel.
Mate, and it was a reward.
And it was a reward, yeah.
Oh, if it was a reward gold, I'd have kept that for sure, man.
Yeah. Sometimes in this game, you can just do everything wrong. And I'm starting to do everything wrong with Ryan Gauld. But anyway, he's at Colorado this week, and he's literally the top play of the game.
Well, I think we could get, I'll be playing my Gauld because I dare not disrespect him again by putting him in 240. And Haggis Light as well mentioned in the live chat about David Marshall. I was only able to get Gauld into that 240 team because David Marshall was in it, and he's the best cap 240 keeper in the world because his scores are crap. But this weekend he came not half bad, which was decent. But I'm away in the Rapids, it should be an away game where he doesn't deliver, but I think it's Gauld, so don't say that out loud. For sure. There he is. Bang. Shane Duffy, Celtic fans out there will be laughing seeing that team. You can never trust Shane Duffy.
You got a decisive with every player.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
What more could you ask for? You went into the week. Please just let me have a decisive with every player. Raul is saying they think Gauld will be rested this midweek, which
could see it, man. I could see it.
It's been a lot of matches.
It has been. I could see it.
So, like I said, this is for All-Star Limited. We have, 7 AAAs. That's it. Which I think what's a little surprising to me is the lack of Real Madrid players. Like Bellingham here, I wonder why he's only a AA.
Interesting.
Not sure how I feel about that, to be honest.
It may be a minutes thing as well, because is Bellingham going to get 90? I don't know if this will forecast that into the equation at all, because it's also less time to accumulate AA as a result.
Right.
I don't know if it factors that in, but it's one thing that would come to my mind.
Yeah.
So if they're winning 2-0 at half time, you may only play 60 minutes, and then.
That's fair. Yeah. Let's go to Champion Europe. Let's see. Champion Europe Rare. We've got Matteo Ruggeri away to Hellas Verona because
YOLO. That's
this is one of those where if it works out, or if it doesn't work out, they were like, obviously that was a mistake. And if it works out, if we look on Thursday and we see that Ruggeri had 100 this week, you're just like, okay, the pick score, I don't know how you
knew.
You knew. Yeah, it just knew.
The secret sauce worked.
Exactly. Yeah. The other guys you can understand. Di Lorenzo is only a AA, but I don't get that either.
I think it was AAA and global. So was Danilo was for sure as well. That's interesting.
I think, is it possible that there shouldn't be more limiteds than rares. I was thinking there's some players aren't there no, there are Juve. I feel like there are some cards where we don't have any limiteds. We do have some rares, but they must have lost a license. But I don't think, Juve doesn't fall into that, and neither does.
I think they would definitely have less than the average club.
For sure, less.
Juve limiteds. That's interesting.
Yeah.
See, one thing that I think that jumps out to me in that screen as well, and this is one where I know some people like a wee quiet punt these days, but Diego Aspas has not scored yet this season. And he is at home to Alaves, AA rated fixture. And wow, that is a wow. No goal for Diego Aspas yet this season. So, law of averages would dictate this is probably the week he's going to do it, I would think.
No goals, but still smashing.
Still getting those decisives.
Haji Sitch just said the Ajax game is off on Wednesday. They'll finish the Feyenoord game instead behind closed doors. Wow.
So Feyenoord are off as well then? Oh no, Feyenoord didn't have a game, did they?
No, they didn't have a game now. Yeah. So no Ajax.
One of them neutralised. Love it. And that's the feeling you get as well. See when a huge DNP rolls in and you're not involved, you're like, yes. Wipe them out.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where it's bad karma, but you still can't help yourself, and you're just like, let's go. Yeah. All right.
We all do it. I don't think it's bad karma. That's just that's the game. We all do it, and no one discriminates. No one takes it bad either. Like, no one takes it in bad faith either and thinks it's like, someone's ganging up on them or whatever. It's like, no, we just want my guys to go, and we're all in that space,
Yeah. Somebody's going to be looking for pictures from the Ajax game this past weekend with a picture of you with a flare in the crowd, trying to make sure that the game gets postponed so that their midweek is out.
Yeah.
As you said, if it's wrong, we can blame McBride because that's where he saw it.
Deal.
We'll do. I was going to point out Alvaro Garcia, who I had this guy's limited card at the end of last season because he takes a lot of set pieces, and Vallecano got promoted, right? Yeah. And so I'm not sure there's anything here that makes me super excited for this week away to Cadiz as well. I'm guessing some of his stats are probably like taking in from last, like when they were down, but it always jumps out at me whenever I look at the pick scores. I'll look at the floor prices of players, and if anything jumps out, and it always jumps out when you see Danilo at 515, and then the next guy is at 53, and then Gaia at 202. So and
then Bellingham at 2.
Aspas looks cheap here on this one. Would you say
Aspas looks very cheap? I was going to say then Bellingham on 2364.
Right,
well.
Right.
Really stands out, doesn't it?
Jeez. Lautaro Martinez really that? Oh, I guess the floor is double what his last public sale was, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm surprised at these Real Madrid number.
That's an interesting thing on your Lautaro there as well. But I was thinking about this when I was away. I downloaded off topic. I downloaded Channy's reward video, John's reward video. Downloaded a bunch of stuff because I knew I would be probably away without good internet. And one thing I was thinking when listening to Hunter's, like all the content and stuff, and I was like walking the dog or whatever, wee moments I had with the headphones on, was it's definitely one thing I was thinking about coming into this window with the whole Lister play thing is that there's going to definitively be like card transfer windows that we're going to feel on the market. And maybe that Lautaro thing, like, if you've got Lautaro and you've got collection bonuses on him and other intercards, you're not listing any of them, even just to test the floor or even just to test a spike. Oh, he's really running up in price. Maybe I can sell one for a profit. If you know what I mean. So that was a wee thought that I had that just kind of came back to me there when you were looking at Lautaro. Have you noticed anything on that Lister play vibe in terms of like in season or anything we're kind of on that?
It for sure makes floor prices significantly higher during particularly like weekend game weeks, where if it's a good player, it's very rare that you find somebody who's like, I'm actually not going to play it this week. I will list it, but I'm only doing this because if it sells for twice what it's worth, then it's worth it to me. Obviously, most people are not buying that. I do think, I mean, it's much different on limited where there are just so many people. You could buy 3 of a card and list 2 and play 1, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Like selling windows you can take advantage on weekends. Even if you aren't grossly overpricing your card, even if it's 15-20% higher than the floor from even Thursday to Friday, and they have a very big game Saturday. People love chasing good scores. So if that guy does score really well, like you could make a decent amount just because most people are playing good cards.
Yeah. No, I'm with it.
Your boy Iago Aspas, top play in Cap 240 this week.
Oh yeah, I could believe that. L15 48.
48. Yeah. Which is, I mean, what you really love to see is the L15 of 48 and the L5 of 62. Because, I mean, obviously, let's see his L15. So this weekend, like after this game week, the 53 will drop and the 74 will be included. So obviously it's going to go up almost right away. And actually, I guess it's not that much. The new one is 50. So even if he crushes midweek, the 54 comes off, and then, I think you still have some time. These scores down here, the 28s, 25s when he was a sub towards the end of last season, are just so helpful. You just love to see those if you have them now.
For sure. Because those last 3 games, the AA has been solid, as well.
Yeah.
So one decisive and 85, 90s on the cards.
Is he on set pieces for them?
Aye, takes everything, man. Everything.
That's what I thought. Literally everything. Like,
yeah. Doesn't share anything, man. Dries Mendes had a few when he was there, but since he's left, it's all been Aspas.
Yeah, there it is. Speaking of Alvaro Garcia before, he's a AAA with a 53 point, but who is this guy? Dylan Tavares. I guess we're expecting him to score fairly well off an L15 of 39 this week. He's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
Left wing back.
Yeah, so see with that pick score for the cap division, is it, so like for that specifically, how much of that is factoring in the objective of, whatever the, what is the average a guy would need? I suppose all the XP stuff makes it dead complicated to work out now, 280 with bonuses and stuff like that. But is it trying to work out they're AAA rated? They're so well, they're AAA rated because they're going to hit 54, and if they all hit 54 as AAA rated, then or whatever the number would be, then you'll do the job. Is it that? No.
Yeah, it is not like that. No, it basically takes into account everything that you would in All-Star, and then adds in how likely we think they will outperform their L15, and that's what that last cost efficiency. You'll notice there's like an extra dot on this one than the All-Star or the non-cap divisions. But generally, anyone who has a good pick score from a cap mode, it's just based on whether we think they will outscore their cost and by how much. And so just looking at this, like the expectation is that Aspas just smashes his L15 of 48. And even before we looked at it, you thought he would do really well this game week. So it just kind of fits into that narrative.
Big time. Yeah. I didn't notice that 6-1 on this, to be honest with you. So that's good to know for sure, especially for anyone out there that's doing this on the reg as well. Yeah, everyone's in the lineup builder all the time. It's a place to be for this time of the week for sure.
The only reason why it gets a little tricky is obviously players who have really high L15s are going to have low cap 240 scores because, if you have an L15 of 65, it's very difficult to outscore 65. And even if we think the player could score 67, like that's not outscoring it that much. And it takes up like a lot of cap room. So I have seen some feedback of people are like, this guy has a great matchup. Like, why is he so bad? And it's like, well, it's when you have an L15 of 59, it's not always that easy to outscore it. And what we don't do is adjust pick scores based on who you have in your lineup already. So if you have, you're making your lineup and you have 190 points from 4 players, and you're like, oh, I have, or 180 points, excuse me, I have 60 points left. The 60-point L15 player will still not have a good score, even though, if they score 60, your lineup is in good shape for the threshold, but it's also not outscoring the L15 much. So
yeah, I get that.
Any last things?
I was looking at when I was building my teams for the game week myself. One thing I thought quite interesting was like how many. I was actually surprised when we were going through the games. I had to look through the matchups tab on the site, but even when we were going through all these, I'm surprised how many games there is this midweek. But again, all the regions are open, and there's a good amount of prizes. And considering it is a midweek in each of the places, I think for each scarcity, having a wee glance over them. So as much as there is like some clearly open, there's like a real, what would we call that? Ajax is off the cards now, so there's a real, what's we talking about? Top 3, top 4 fixtures really there that are really dangerous, but they could all go into All-Star. A few under 23 cards there as well. They're all capped, well, all 270 and 240 candidates for cards as well. So it'll be a funny game week to see where they all kind of dry out, because again, last midweek, Nellis did really well. Chani did really well last midweek as well. That was the same game week, wasn't it, for them? And midweeks, like, it's those ones where if the cards come in, a lot of people think, oh, you don't get as good cards midweek and stuff like that. And sometimes that can be true, but it's also like time of the season. Like, this is the time to win. Like, if you want to be winning, it's when all the new cards are dropping and all the pools are full of stuff, So, it's again a very busy midweek where it's not like we've only got All-Star open or All-Star under 23 or All-Star under 23 caps, whatever the base mode is. We've got the regions there as well for all of them. So, like all the Asian cards, you could just see a bunch of people just going to try and smash that out. Maybe they don't impact things much. Look at that prize pool as well, man. Like,
it's crazy. They have given out a lot of Haalands, though.
You reckon? Yeah.
They gave away, I think, 4 2 weekends ago, and 2 this past weekend. And it just seems like that's a lot for this start of the season.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fair.
Yeah, there's some huge cards here in the star pool. This is actually the biggest star pool I feel like we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
They used to basically put it down to it was down to like 10 players at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah, there wasn't many. It was like the Neymars and the Messis only. It was relatively exclusive for a time, you know. I think it's probably justified for, I was going to say all these guys, but I see too many goalkeepers.
Way too many. Yeah.
Way too many goalkeepers in here, man. Like, so, yeah, that makes me instantly a wee bit like, you know, maybe not quite the star pool you want, perhaps, but hey, still, yeah. Still, obviously, Haaland and that'll be on a cool down necessarily, but I say winning's still winning. You know what I mean? And if you're still pulling out the star pool, then yeah, no matter what the region.
Yeah. And I look at this, and while Granit Xhaka has been great, Granit Xhaka in the same pool as like Wirtz and Veerman and Saka just seems wrong to me.
Yeah. Is it different? We'll have a look at champion. What does the star champion tier look like? Only one paid out in D4. It's a bit smaller. Not many goalkeepers, eh? Ederson and is that big? Ter Stegen.
And Onana and Oblak and Coburn.
They lost me at the end.
Yeah.
Should have stopped at Stevens, eh?
But those are the ones that you would expect, like in a midweek, this is where you would expect you know, your star to be paid out, unfortunately. And so, like I think Simmons, when Nellis won, that was a midweek, wasn't it? When he thought he was going to win Haaland. And,
it might have been actually, yeah.
So you're more likely to be in this range, I feel like, than this one.
Yeah. It's maybe better to go in regions because that all-star pool was deep and had mad goalkeepers in it from Timbuktu and everything in between.
Yeah.
Under 23 is pretty safe.
It's always still a lot of goalies. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, if you miss that bottom 4, you're fine, I think. But
5. Yeah. Although U23 goalie is always nice to get.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you to everybody for joining us. If you could please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. That's all really appreciated. Quinny, thank you for coming on again.
Pleasure.
Like I said to you beforehand, it felt like a waste to have you discuss a midweek because you have so much knowledge that we should take advantage of the weekend, but also it helps us in the midweek. So thank you very much for coming on.
Nasty rumors you're spreading about me, but thanks. No, pleasure's been mine, honestly. Normally I was basically listening to you anyway, and when I seen the thing because I was away for the weekend, I was like, oh man, are we doing this today? You know, so it was one of those ones where I was just kind of I was up for it anyway, obviously. And this is like Monday, like midweeks or not, you've always got teams and Mondays where you're going to start to, you know, have I got a team to put out? Because the weekend, especially that weekend there for a lot of people, does take up all your attention, and it's now coming up to get set for the midweek. So no, thanks for having me on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. Good luck to everyone.
Good luck to everyone. Good luck to you holding on for the next 24 hours.
Thank you.
We're hoping for it. But anyway, thanks everyone, and good luck this midweek.